Good morning, gearheads. Welcome to Speed City's coverage of the 2023 Formula One Monaco Grand Prix. We couldn't be more excited for the jewel in the crown that is Formula One from Monaco. This is John Massengale, joined by my friend Jonathan Green. How are you, Mr. Green?
I'm very well. After that qualifying session, I mean, I can't wait for this. This is going to be so good.
I know that qualifying did not disappoint, did it? That was amazing and really showcased the amazing driver that is Max Verstappen, didn't it?
It really did, but it also showed that a man who could be his father is just as quick. I mean, how good was Alonso and how cool was it to see him in his absolute element? Just racing. I mean, touching walls. I mean, Verstappen, as you heard on the radio, was like, I think I touched the wall 3 times.
Yeah.
Alonso was so precise. I mean, the whole thing was just brilliant.
Well, Max made up, I think it was almost 3/10 in the last sector. I mean, I don't think we gave Max enough credit in the post qualifying show yesterday because there was so much going on. There was right at the end there with Ocon and Alonso and Leclerc. It was really fantastic qualifying, but what Max did on that last lap and in that last sector was, I mean, it was really epic, wasn't it?
It truly was. And I mean, there's always been great qualifyings at Monaco, but to pull it off on that lap, and i.e., that's the one you have to do it on. And you have to be so precise. I mean, you've been hooning around there for like 3 days. But that's the one. That's the sector you've got to get it right in. And come off the hour, come off the man. I mean, brilliant, absolutely superb. And I really do think when you look at the top three for that race, Hamilton on fire, Verstappen doing what he does, and Alonso. I mean, you've got the three greatest drivers of this era, just absolutely performing at their best. I mean, this is the stage. There's only one stage.
Yeah,
This
clip's
is Red
ready.
Rocks. This is the time to do it, and they did it.
Yeah, and Jonathan, we always think of Monaco and the history behind it and the circuit being so unique, but it really is something special, isn't it? It's really, we got the Indy 500 later today and all the hype about that and everything, but Monaco is just something special and it showcases the drivers so in particularly in qualifying, and it's just something that there's a reason to be so excited for today.
Yeah, and there isn't a race. I mean, okay, there is, and it's coming up straight afterwards, which is the 500. There isn't a race that really absolutely epitomizes Formula One and the challenge that is than this track. It really
Hmm.
isn't about beating your opponent, it's about beating the track. And it has been that way. Hence the reason Senna won it 6 times. Hence the reason Prost and Senna were wheel to wheel so many times in terms of the track itself. It's always been the challenge of the track. And it's still that's to this day exactly that, the challenge of the track. And it really is, it really doesn't matter. you know the qualifying is almost more important than the race, simply because that's where you find out who is the best driver of the day.
Yeah. And and by the way, Bob Varsha is not going to be with us today. Unfortunately, he is doing some Formula E stuff today, but Chris Medland will be joining us from Monaco with microphone in hand. So we're going to look forward to that, and he'll be joining us here shortly. So, but
I
Jonathan,
don't
we can't.
I don't want to go on any further without mentioning that Ocon lap was just phenomenal.
Yeah, it was, wasn't it? That was really one of the highlights because it was what 3 minutes to go, and Ocon was at the top of the leaderboard, and I was thinking I didn't think he was going to get pole, but I thought maybe crazy outside chance. So, and I just got a text from Chris Medland. He said he'll be here in 5 minutes. He said, uh, so he is just I'm just looking at my watch. He said it is jam packed out there, so he's going to join us in here in just a minute. And Jonathan, we can't go any further without talking about Checo Perez because that was as epic as Max's lap was. That was kind of an epic mistake on Checo's part, wasn't it?
Yeah, I'm convinced that two things happened. That the car to his right, which was out of the way, mind you, distracted him. It made him go slightly wider. Slightly wider meant that the turn in wasn't possible. I don't know what the tires were at the point, but the back end, the car just couldn't take it. And he tried to get it round, but there was no way he was going to make Sandoval at that point. There's no way.
Yeah.
So it just, very unfortunate. But that's a classic Monaco mistake. I mean, you're pushing it all the way. There's a car to your right, so you give it a bit of room. You know that it's not a factor, but you've already been distracted by it because you're having to deal with it at the worst time, which is when you're breaking into Sandoval.
Well, we have an early morning caller. By the way, if you want to call us, the number is 512-643-5483. But we have Drew from Houston on the line. Hi, Drew. How are you?
Good, gentlemen. Happy greatest day in racing. We got Monaco, Indy 500, and then NASCAR. So I got 12 hours beer and fast cars, and I hope you guys do too.
Yes, right after our coverage, I'll be watching the Indy 500 and getting ready for NASCAR too. So, yes, I'm glad you're excited.
That's right. I just wanted to kind of pick your brains, and maybe Medland's had some insight I haven't heard on. But what's going on with Haas? During the week, it seems so exciting to be a Haas fan. We're picking up new sponsors left and right. And then come race day, in qualifying day, they're so inconsistent. You can't tell what they're going to do one day from the next. It's very frustrating.
Well, Drew, we had yesterday on the post-qualifying show, former Haas F1 team manager Dave O'Neill, and we kind of asked the same question. And, I said something to the effect that Monaco's just never been great for Haas, it seems like. I can't remember all 7 years or whatever it's been now. But he said, in years past, they have just decided that there's only so much money you can spend. And he talked about how, Red Bull, for example, or Mercedes can just have the budget for a specific setup for Monaco and just spend that money, no problem. And that Haas just couldn't do that. And I know that we've got the cost cap now, but we're still, we're only a couple of years into this now. So I think that was part of it. But I do see Mr. Medland has joined us. Chris, do you have any feedback for Drew on this? What's going on with the Haas F1 team here?
Well, actually, I'm going to promise you that I would go and try and grab Gunter Stein on the grid in this pre-race show because I was waiting for him, wasn't I, yesterday?
Yeah.
To come back from the pit lane, and he never did in the time we were on air on the show. He was still in debrief, and it was a long one. So clearly, Haas weren't happy, and I think it has actually surprised them the way this weekend's gone because they're the one team that both cars really struggled. Next closest, probably Alfa Romeo, if you look at where Joe ended up, and then Bottas just ending up slowest in Q2 as well. So I will find out if there's anything to do with the Ferrari power unit around here. They did have some upgrades. They had some specific parts of this track, only small ones, but they did say at the weekend they brought a few. So that's a step towards what we'd expect, every other team to do. As you were just saying, John, they are investing in this sort of thing now alongside everyone else, but maybe not to the same level. So yeah, I'll see if Gunter has an answer when I hopefully bump into him on the grid. Well, he should sadly be easier to find to be at the back.
Yeah, it's true. Well, I do know that that Magnussen had some hydraulic issues during what was it? I think it was free practice 3. So they were dealing with that. So I don't, but it is frustrating, Drew, no doubt. I know we all want the American F1 team to do well, and on a big day like Monaco, you're in the spotlight, and it is, it's no fun when your team's not doing well, and I guarantee that Haas F1 team is not happy right now. Jonathan, any take on Haas?
Not really. I mean, it is, I suppose, one of the tracks that exposes. I mean, there's no power to be involved in this. There's no top end power. The Ferrari engine in a straight line obviously is very good. But no, not really. I just think it exposes when you don't have the perfect car, it exposes it. And I think the design of the Haas may not be what's needed at Monaco. Like I said, it's not a power circuit, so anything you've got in terms of downforce and drivability in low and mid-speed corners is going to show, and it's not what their forte is by any means.
Well, that's exactly along those lines. Actually, Max Verstappen heading into this weekend, as he actually heads out of his garage right in front of me, because I can stand between the pit lane and the exit of the swimming pool right now, which is an incredible spot to be, I must admit. I'm so sorry no one else gets to see this through my eyes right now, but it's awesome. Verstappen said, coming here, Red Bull might not be as competitive as elsewhere. You know, he might get beaten by Alonso, by Ferrari, but these are the things where that car is designed to be competitive over the whole season. And if they have to give it up a little bit in Monaco, then fine. You know, that's a unique one-off venue. That might be the case with Haas too. You develop the car hoping it'll be strong all year, and it just might not quite click here, but you take your pain for one weekend and hope to get bigger results elsewhere.
Yeah, you can't work on a season when Monaco's the case. You know, it really is one of those places where it doesn't matter. That's why I was surprised that the upgrades came with Mercedes here rather than next week at Spain.
Well, we do have a clip from Max Verstappen, and this is just after qualifying. Let's hear from Max.
Well, risking it all, to be honest. I knew that I was down, and I knew that it was not enough for pole coming into the last sector. So I clipped a few barriers, trying to move the barrier away. But yeah, I have to say turn 15 worked with me this time. It has been a bit unlucky for me in the past, but today it was good. Yeah, of course, extremely happy to be on pole here.
I know you always want pole around Monaco, but after last year missing out when you were quick enough to get it, is it extra satisfying to get the job done this year?
I think I was just very happy that we finally had a clean Q3, you know, no red flags, and everyone could just push to the limit. I think that was really enjoyable for everyone.
Great. How much of a threat is Fernando going to be tomorrow?
I mean, we just need a clean start. I think race pace-wise or whatever, I mean, you're anyway not going to go flat out around here. I think we should be good enough.
Chris Medland, I know you wrote an article for Racer Magazine, racer.com, about this exact thing, but Max, almost like he was using the walls is almost the way he was phrasing that, wasn't it?
Yeah, I mean, it's quite funny. Right now, I am stood at the point where Carlos Sainz crashed in FP2 on Friday, so where he clipped the inside of the second part of the swimming pool and went straight on into the barrier on the outside. And even on these kind of installation laps where the drivers are going out, doing a lap, coming to the pit lane and doing it again, some of the guys are pushing so hard through here, taking risks, getting close, and it's that barrier on the inside. So many of them brush it because it just moves back. But you've got to brush it. You hit it too hard. Dave O'Neill was great, wasn't he, explaining it yesterday as well?
Yeah.
You hit it too hard, you can damage something, but if you move it enough, you've just made a little bit more space on the track for you to go quicker. That is exactly the level of precision that they're all looking for now. It is insane that that's how racing drivers have to attack this circuit, but it's just so close, especially in qualifying. You have to look for every little advantage, and that's one of them.
Yeah, and Dave O'Neill also pointed out how the tires are different, right? So with the larger wheel diameter, you don't have the bulge of the rubber of the tire, so it makes it even harder to make that tiny little brush of the wall. Just, I mean, it's what these drivers can do. It's just mind-boggling, isn't it?
It's unbelievable. And we'll mention as well, we've seen it a few times. Some of these cars are built a little stronger than others. And you wonder if that means some drivers can take a little bit more risk than others. For example, the Aston Martin, how many bumps have we seen that car have with Alonso and Stroll during the season and something not break? And then we've seen other cars like the McLaren with the tiniest touch and there's front wing damage or something has failed. So, yeah, there's I think it actually does change as well, depending on the car you've got, like how much liberty you can take, how much risk you can take. But interestingly, another aside, Tom McCulloch from Aston Martin spoke to him this morning, who said Verstappen risked it all knowing he was down through the first two sectors. Took every bit of risk and then some, they saw on his lap. They said Fernando saw on his own personal lap that he was up through the first two sectors and just brought it home and didn't quite take the same amount of risk he could have if he felt like he had to make up time. So
Fernando,
those kind of two different approaches. It's like if Fernando got another go at it now, knowing what he needed for the final sector, I reckon he'd risk a little bit more.
Well, speaking of Fernando, we have a clip. Let's hear from Fernando Alonso.
Yeah,
obviously it was close, but nevertheless, I think the first row of the grid here in Monaco, it feels amazing. We came here with some concerns about our performance on Saturdays. We've been facing some problems to put heat on the tires. We are very good on Sundays, but not so good on qualifying. And Monaco is all about qualifying. So we wanted to make sure that we start in a good position and we start in the first row. So we have to be happy. But yeah, half a tenth from pole position obviously is quite close. But we gave it all, and that's the most important thing.
Now, I know overtaking's tough around here, but the win has got to be on, right? Good strategy, finding a way. You've got so many opportunities, right?
Yeah, obviously we will try. I think overtaking opportunities will be very limited on the race, so we have to rely a little bit on some help from Max, maybe 78 laps, anything can happen on the car, a bad pit stop or a good moment for your pit stop or things like that. But I think we have the second best place on the grid, and let's try to maximize.
All right. Well, you know what, guys? Let's sneak in a quick break. And when we come back, we'll have more from Chris in Monaco, and we'll continue our coverage leading up. We're about 40 minutes from the Formula One Monaco Grand Prix. Back after these messages. All right, let's see who we got on YouTube. We got the Mike Bowles, T&W, Derek Milo, and Drew is on. And that's probably the same Drew that just called in. Yeah, thanks, Drew. Appreciate the phone call. Yeah, there you go. Thanks for taking my call. Yeah, good question. I wish Dave O'Neill had been here this morning to answer your question in person, but he was here yesterday. Yeah, still a mystery to all of us, honestly. I'm like you, Drew. I'm a big fan, and it's no fun when they're not doing good. I'm a big fan of most of the teams, though. I had somebody give me a hard time yesterday because I wasn't giving Max enough love. But I think I was just excited about all the other teams up there with the possibilities yesterday, including Mr. Alonso. But Chris, when we come back, I want to get a weather report from you. Saw people asking and praying for some moisture.
Yeah, maybe. I was about to say it'll be a boring one, and it is lovely and sunny right now. It is lovely and sunny, but yeah, there's maybe a little. So yeah, I can give an update and look around at the sky. I'm drier than last year, anyway.
Yeah. Let's see what else is happening here. Joe of Oyster Bay says, "Morning, everybody." We got all the usual suspects on there.
John, I wanted to talk about Alonso's not press conference, but post-quali interview.
Okay. All right, I'm getting the CrowdStrike spots up.
I'm just trying to find my way to climb a fence to get across the pit lane. That's the glamour of Monaco.
Chris, did you hear our VMware spots live reads yesterday?
I did. Yeah, they sounded great.
Here we go.
Hello to everyone. This is Gunther Steiner. This is Speed City.
Welcome back to the fastest hour in radio, Speed City.
CrowdStrike presents Driven in 60 as the official cybersecurity partner of the Mercedes-AMG Petronas Formula One team. CrowdStrike protects against cyber threats so the team can focus on what matters, their next win. The revolutionary cloud-native unified CrowdStrike Falcon platform harnesses the speed and power of the cloud to protect and defend organizations of all sizes against increasingly complex threats, stopping breaches before they happen. Because on and off the track, the stakes couldn't be higher. A split second can make the difference between victory and defeat. When every second counts, protection shouldn't slow you down. It should fuel your momentum. CrowdStrike, protection at every turn. To learn more and to try CrowdStrike Falcon free today, visit crowdstrike.com/XM. Okay, Jonathan, you said you have a comment about this Monaco Grand Prix. What do you got?
Well, no, I wanted to comment about Alonso himself. We just heard from him there, but what was great was the post-qualifying interview where he basically was the old Alonso. He basically said, well, Max doesn't start so well, so you know, let's see what happens. And so he got in the monkey mind. He started the sort of mind games with Verstappen, you know, telling the world that his weakness was starting, so that he can take that advantage and maybe just put a thought in Red Bull's mind that they may not get off the line as well, because that's been the weakness. And I just thought that's so Alonso to start the game that early, and it shows where he is now. He's now fighting with the champ for the world championship.
I know. That's so Alonso, and that is perfect to do some mind games because you know, clearly Max is at the top of his skills game right now. And the insane thing is, can you say that about Alonso? I mean, he's got to be, you know, the edge of falling off. You would think at 41 or 42 now that it's just stunning. But Chris, I hear your open mic over there. What's going on over there? How's the weather for one?
Well, the weather's lovely right now. I've made it onto the grid. So if you do get some feedback, it's a Haas firing up right now behind me because I'm staring at the last car on the grid and it's got the number 11 on it. Sergio Perez's Red Bull here in 20th spot. So no pit lane start or anything like that. He's going to start from the back of the grid. I'm pretty certain that when they take the wheel covers off, he's going to have a set of soft or medium tires on. He's going to do one lap, and assuming there's no safety car, he's going to come in, put on hard tires and run to the end of the race because he'll be on his own at the back. He can go as quickly as he needs. He'll catch everyone else up that's a lot slower than him. And when they pit, he'll make some positions. It's the only way you're going forward in Monaco, really. So that's what I'm expecting from Perez. But at the moment, weather-wise, actually, it's looking really, really good. Sun's out. It's very warm down here on the grid. But there have been some clouds that start to form up around us. As I explained last year, for anyone listening, when I got absolutely drenched on the grid, because we're sort of right on the coast, but it's a very steep rock face that kind of encloses the Principality of Monaco here. And you just see the clouds creep over the top and around the outside of, or on the exit of turn 1. If I look beyond there, over the hill, there's some clouds forming and creeping over. So maybe a risk of a shower. I don't think anything severe. If we're going to get anything, I don't think it's going to be heavy. But you know, a little bit would just be enough, wouldn't it, to spice things up? And as we saw, the jeopardy that can induce. I mean, it cost Charles Leclerc even a podium from pole position last year. So fun fact for anyone thinking, oh, it'll be a procession, it'll be boring, Max has already won it. Second place on the grid has won more often than first, I think, since 2015 here.
There you go. There's a little hope. You know, I say a hope for those who are hoping for someone other than Max Verstappen. Because look, let's face it, guys. If
Sorry to interrupt, didn't I promise you I'd get you Gunther Steiner? And he's just walked on the grid, and the first thing I've done is stop him, and he's like, for God's sake, give me a second. But Gunther, I actually want to ask, I'm sorry to ask it this way, but just felt like you weren't quite that competitive yesterday or really at any point this weekend. Why is that?
I don't know. If I would know, we wouldn't be here. It's not where we want to be, but I think our car on the second lap on tires is just not good. I mean, we were okay, you know, up to then, and then we just went out there in Q1, and you know, you expect an improvement on your second lap, and actually it was not at all. It was, and we just didn't make it in. We need to look into it. Why? I think on these bumpier tracks, we are just not where we want to be in the moment.
So you think it's not just Monaco, but maybe, not smooth circuits. That's where you got an issue.
Correct. And obviously Monaco is because you are going down so slow and you need to accelerate out of slow corners. And if you just don't get the grip, you just wear your tire out more than on a normal track.
Anything you can do today? I mean, you know, it's normally a bit of a procession. Is there a strategic gamble you can do? Is it just stay in the race?
Yeah, you can gamble, but the gamble, you don't know if it pays off. So, you know, you try to do your best with a strategy complete opposite to everybody else, and just hope for mayhem to have more rain to come.
Well, we'll see if you get either of those. Good luck today. Thanks for your time. There we go, as promised. I hope that was a little bit of insight.
Yeah, hey, I mean, I think that they're saying the same thing they're just not there yet, and you know, he doesn't know exactly, and that's just Formula One, isn't it, Jonathan?
It's the beauty of both Gunther and Formula One right now. He's so honest. You know, if Ron Dennis would have answered that question, he'd still be answering it, and he'd be talking about, you know, the iterations of why it was possible that the dynamics of the car weren't quite where they specified from the research and development and the CAD. No, Gunther tells it like it is. We're just not fast enough, and we don't know why.
Suboptimal would have been the term, wouldn't it, from Ron?
Suboptimal. Yeah, suboptimal.
Yeah. Well, we do have a couple more clips I want to get in here because we do have Checo Perez as well. Let me see if Casey's got that one queued up because he is starting from. No, actually, we don't have Checo. Sorry about that, guys. But
Oh, don't worry. Let me see if I can annoy someone. I'm going to try someone who doesn't normally talk to us on the show, so this might backfire. But I'll see if Franz doesn't want to talk. They're having a good weekend though, AlphaTauri. That's what I want to speak to him about. They've got Nick de Vries in 12th place, I believe, on the grid off the top of my head. Yuki Tsunoda here in the top 10, starting from 9th. And
Yuki was awesome.
We do have Yuki.
Exactly. This team has not always been there with both cars this year, have they? But this weekend, yeah, really, really impressive.
Well, we do have an interview with Yuki Tsunoda. If Casey's got that one fired up, let's hear from Yuki.
9th? Yeah, definitely. First of all, we didn't expect going through Q3, so considering that team did a very good job giving me such an amazing car, and yeah, super enjoyed it. First time going through Q3 in Monaco, so yeah, it definitely was special.
And you're in great shape for tomorrow to kind of carry on that really good run of form you've had recently.
Yeah, definitely. Tomorrow, and I just give my everything, like always, and hopefully I will try to maximize the opportunity as much as possible, and yeah, hopefully we can score points.
Yeah, he's looking good, isn't he, Jonathan?
Oh, there's no question. I mean, if you remember, at one point he was leading qualifying.
Yeah.
I mean, like I said, what I love about Monaco is that it negates power and car performance, and it's more about the driver, so much more. And that's why someone like Yuki can stand up. And these are the days where you noticed who are the good drivers, because you're not racing against the design of the car, you're racing against the track. And so, someone like Yuki really performing like that and taking a car that, isn't necessarily as good as the Red Bull or the Mercedes, really, really outperforming and really, really impressive.
Mm. Hey,
I've got to say, actually, I got a bit of insight from someone at Red Bull yesterday about Daniel Ricciardo was doing a bit of a Q&A, and he said he did a lap on a sim around Monaco and said, you don't really talk because you're concentrating so hard, you're so focused, don't really say a lot when you're in the car on a lap here. And then they listened into Max Verstappen's pole lap, I think it was the actual pole lap he did. And on his team radio, he was chatting all the way round. He was telling them where he'd hit the wall, where he'd done badly. He was going, Yuki's fastest? What's happened there? Wait, Ocon's quickest? He was responding to everything you could see on the timing screens. It was remarkable, they said. And they're like, how he has that capacity is insane. But that also shows, though, the way he responded to those two going quickest specifically. I think he expected it from Alonso, that they were standout performances from those sorts of drivers to be in Q3 and be that quick.
Mm. Guys, we haven't even talked about Charles Leclerc because he had another great lap. One of those laps at the top of the grid yesterday were just fantastic. But of course, he ended up with a three-place grid penalty for impeding Lando Norris, dropping him to 6th. But I mean, isn't that just Ferrari's season again this year? It's just, he looked fast and it was just right off the pace, and here he is back in 6th place.
I hate to say it, I've said it so many times this season, they can't get out their own way. And Leclerc's actually been better than most at being sort of single-handedly leading Ferrari. But I mean, you saw the mistake in the tunnel. That was his mistake. There's nobody else to blame for that. But Ferrari as well didn't get their plan together. Leclerc's always fighting. Well, should Sainz be in front of me? Should I be in front of Sainz? Is he going to get out of the way? Blah 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 blah. And it's not a good scene.
But just to follow up though on the no one else to blame, the stewards put the full blame on the team and not on Leclerc. So they said Leclerc did everything right that he should do once he was in that position, and the team had not informed them of Norris coming, and they had the chance to during that lap, but instead they were telling him about what everyone else was doing, kind of, who was improving, what was going on as like a sporting context, and not the important bit of this car is coming up behind you. So they were pretty damning actually on Ferrari's radio messages or lack of them, and said that actually Charles handled it very well, but it was still unnecessary impeding because the team didn't do the job they should have if they had, he wouldn't have been in the way. So, the team gets the overall penalty, don't they? It doesn't matter whether the driver made the mistake or the team did. If the end result is you've impeded another driver, you're getting a penalty, and that's what happened there.
Let's hear from Charles Leclerc explaining just that.
It is a very tricky car to drive, and at the end I did my best in Q3 and I felt like I've done a good job, so there wasn't much more on that lap. P3, I'm never satisfied with anything other than first, so I'm a bit disappointed, but it's life. It's the best we could do, so we need to take some positive out of it.
Now, I think you've just come back from the stewards. What did they have to say?
Well, they listen more than say, so for now I'm waiting the verdict on whether they think I've done the best possible job to get out of the way. Let's see.
Do you think you did?
I definitely did my best once I got the info. But yeah, again, I don't want to say one thing or another. At the end, they will take the decision.
All right, thank you.
All right, well, we need to get a break in, but when we come back, we're going to hear from a couple of folks that we haven't gotten to hear from a lot this season, including Esteban Ocon, Pierre Gasly. You're listening to Speed City. Back after these messages. All right, on the stream, on the YouTubes. Jonathan, how's the hotel this morning?
It's bright and breezy.
In Trans Am, you got the day off, but you're working on Memorial Day tomorrow.
Oh yeah, we did a great race yesterday, and we got another one tomorrow.
Well, I'm going to a classic American barbecue for the Indy 500 right after this coverage. So, Chris, it sounds like it's lighting up a little bit out there. Here's some, I say lighting up as in some folks, some activity.
Yeah, it's very, very busy. I'm trying to spot who I recognize. But two, it's just trying to get through crowds because this paddock, or pit lane, sorry. Should I get my words right? Pit straight is so tight with all the cars on it as well. Then you add in more guests than we get at most other races. On this occasion, we've got maybe a few fewer than Miami, but not by a lot. It's impossible to move. So you quite often will hear my mic just bumping into someone unintentionally. But I can see Chris Gale taking some photos of a Mercedes right now, while Adrian Newey has a look at that car. So that's quite interesting.
Oh.
And Fred Vasseurs nearby, but about to do a TV interview. And seeing as we're not on air, I won't bother him quite yet.
There you go. Let's see. Let me check the YouTube, see if anybody's chatting us up. Let's see. TW says, I did get a nap in. There you go, buddy. No naps. Man, it did come early this morning for some reason for me. I kind of walked into the studio with about 7 minutes to go, guys. That's unusual, but Casey was actually sticking his head out the window going, where is John? Where's anybody going to be here? Looking at the coverage. Hey, Chris, Kylie Minogue is there.
Yep, and Maria Sharapova. They were together at a Tag Heuer event yesterday.
All right, here we go.
Sharapova's changed her hair to dark.
Hi, this is Max Verstappen, and you're listening to Speed City.
Welcome back to the fastest hour in radio, Speed City.
Okay, we're 26 minutes and change from the 2023 Monaco Grand Prix. And it's John Massick. I got Jonathan Green with me and Chris Medland over in Monaco. And Chris, I'm watching the television coverage, and it looks like the stars are out as usual in Monaco. And I know you got your eyes peeled for any celebrities, but who'd you see yesterday? It seemed like I saw some big names too.
Yeah, quite a few. I've just been brushed past by Chris Gale, and I'm trying to work out Adele Burkham Jr. is here, who did not get onto the Red Bull Saturday night party. He walked over to try and get on it and was turned away. So that was quite funny because then I saw some security guards, I think, chasing him to try and get him to come back. It might have been a bit too late. Yeah, that's the sound effect we needed. So yeah, that was interesting. This is absolute carnage, to be honest with you. But fortunately, I don't have a camera to hit people with because there's no space right now. We're by Mercedes, where Toto Wolff is just having a good old chat. I'm trying to duck out the way of the photographers while they try and snap some more A-listers. Kylie Minogue, Maria Sharapova on the grid I've seen a little bit ago. We had Michael Douglas and Catherine Zeta-Jones here yesterday with Aston Martin.
I saw them in Miami last year, yeah.
Yeah, that's, a lot of these people actually are names that will recur, which is cool. You can tell they are F1 fans. They come back on multiple occasions. So,
Chris, we need to get you one of those foam mic cubes. It's like 18 inches tall, so you can just wave it around and make sure everybody sees you.
Exactly, I can bop them on the head with it. I've just seen Netflix actually get told not to record a chat. They were told not to interrupt something. So I'm trying to see if I can get to walk, but I'm the wrong side of mayhem to try and do that right now.
Well,
so,
I tell you what, while you're doing that, let's we've got a clip from Esteban Ocon, who had a great qualifying. So let's hear from Esteban.
It's a huge amount of work, to get to that moment, and very pleased to have built the weekend the way we did. We had a tricky car to drive in Q1, but we knew the track was going to improve. We knew the pace was going to get better, and finally to let it all go in the last lap, it felt great. I had a very, very big shunt with the wall in that lap, but it made me gain some time, so happy days. The car was solid enough, and we made it run.
Wow, that sounds like a heart in the mouth moment. Jeez. Heading into tomorrow, I know it's hard to overtake around here, but you're one spot off a podium.
I know.
Like, you've got to be eyeing that up, surely.
Yeah, well, for sure, but already let me digest what happened today. The team also needs to digest it. They are going to be happy with having an early curfew tonight. Hopefully the car is not too bent. But yeah, it's a hell of a moment for everyone, and I'm pleased already that we are fourth. Yeah, let's see what we can do tomorrow. Good start, and hopefully, some fighting in front.
And such an important boost, given it's been so difficult recently, hasn't it, for you guys?
For sure. And it proves the hard work. It proves that we don't give up, and it proves that around here where it's a tough circuit, where you have to hustle the car, I can be there also. So I'm happy.
It's nice to be fourth, but he's actually starting third today, and I think that ties us for his best qualifying position ever after Leclerc's penalty. And of course, his teammate Pierre Gasly down in seventh. So that's a nice day for Alpine, isn't it, Jonathan?
No question, and I think they're the team most likely to improve. We've been watching Alpine's progress in the last few races, and I really
sorry to droll. I've got James Marsden in front of me, who was in Miami, I believe, as well, not that many races ago. What brings you back to Monaco straight away? Have you got the bug now? You've got to be at every F1 race?
Yeah, as long as I got some time off, I'm going to hit every race I can. Absolutely.
So what brought you here? You with a sponsor, a partner, a team?
Well, I'm always pulling for Lewis and Mercedes. Been pulling for them for a while, so
who's that?
It'll be an interesting one today. I love seeing it split up over the top three spots there. It's going to be a fun one. Alonso is crushing it. It's going to be fun to watch.
Yeah, and have you been into F1 for a long time, or has it kind of caught your attention more recently?
10 years now. I've been like pre-Drive to Survive or post. I'm a pre-Drive to Survivor. But yes, excited to see everybody excited about the sport. But yeah, I've been following it for about 10 years now.
And pick your winner today?
Tough to bet against Max, but I'm pushing for Alonso.
Yeah, I think a lot of people are actually neutral, so thanks very much. Enjoy it. That's James Marsden there that I managed to grab because he was I saw he was very busy alongside Mercedes and Lewis Hamilton in Miami. So yeah, surprised actually to see some of the guys that were probably still recovering from that making the trip over here. But we had Cannes Film Festival, didn't we, last week? So quite a few of the film stars come out for that as well.
Yeah, sounds like he's a real F1 fan, right? Like you said, pre-Drive to Survive.
Yes, yeah, I think wearing it proudly as well. I think on that front, I think he was quite pleased to kind of be able to say that. But it's great to have fans getting in whenever they do. It's a question I ask now because we get so many, don't we? So yeah, we get a lot that are new to it, but really falling in love with it and committing to a lot. So it's just great to see the boom in interest.
Good catch, Chris, because I don't think I would have caught him. He's been in X-Men and some other. I mean, he's been around a long time, but. What do you know him from?
Exactly that X-Men. Yeah, there's one of the film stars. So I'll admit, movies aren't actually something I spend a lot of time watching because I have so much writing I do that I never just sit in one place still. Sorry if I'm shouting. I'm trying to also catch the eye of Adele Beckham Jr., who is right next to me right now doing some photos, but I don't know if he's going to do interviews. So let's have my Martin Brundle moment and see if I fail on this front. But this could go horrifically. But we will find out if I can catch Cy or not. Got a good group of friends around him who are trying to keep me at bay, so I'm not sure if he'd be up for it. So I might gonna scoot around the wrong side.
and just see.
Throw him a ball.
he can one-handed catch it.
He says no for this one, but he apologizes. So I think he actually does recognize the logo. And I have been told that when it's American outlets, he's then worried he's going to get asked about NFL, where he's moving, history in the sport, that sort of thing. And when that happens, he kind of shies away from it. So I know when he did an interview with ESPN a few years ago, he kind of had to get them to agree long before they could approach him what they were going to talk about. So sadly, guys, I think for once, being the American outlet on the grid has cost us there, but we gave it a go.
And of course, Odell Beckham
Good
Jr. He's the guy who popularized, Casey, correct me if I'm wrong, but popularized the one-handed catch. I think he started that on a Monday Night Football game against the Cowboys one year. But
he did.
The stars are out for sure in Monaco. That's a big part of it. Well, let's get back to some race talk, Jonathan. I mean, look, we've got this really interesting grid. I'm going to just run down the grid. I'm not going to do the Bob Varsha special. I wish you were here to do that for us. But, of course, Max Verstappen on pole, followed by Fernando Alonso. In third, after the penalty, Esteban Ocon, followed by Carlos Sainz. Lewis Hamilton in fifth. Charles Leclerc down in sixth after the penalty. Pierre Gasly, George Russell, Yuki Tsunoda in ninth. Lando Norris, followed by his teammate Oscar Piastri in 11th. Nick DeVries with his best qualifying ever, I believe, and down in 12th. Alexander Albon, Lance Stroll, way behind his teammate there. And then Valtteri Bottas, the American Logan Sargent down in 16th, followed by Kevin Magnussen and teammate Nico Hulkenberg in 17 and 18. And then Zhou Guanyu, and at the back of the grid, of course, Checo after his crash, Sergio Perez. But, Jonathan, we've talked about the front of the grid here. I mean, what else could we be looking for today?
Well, I'm going to be very interested to see what Perez could do. I mean, remember, he won this race last year.
Yeah.
So, and he hasn't lost his ability. That was a rare mistake at Sandevot. So, Checo will, I think exactly what Chris said. He'll probably do a lap and then get on the hard tires and then try to outrun him. And so it's going to be interesting to see what he can do. Likewise, Hulkenberg and Magnussen, both of them looked actually quite competitive at one point. So we'll see what Haas can do, but it's strategy for them from the back, as it always is at Monaco. And you never know, I mean, everybody can pile into the first corner and they skip through. So you just never, ever count out any opportunity at Monaco.
Chris Medland, what's going on with you, buddy?
I found a tiny patch of clear tarmac, and apologies if my mic is picking up all of the engine fire-ups that we're getting while everyone's talking back in the studio. Sometimes it's good for that, sometimes it's not. But I've had to leave my mic open because if I have my phone out to mute it, it will get ripped out of my hand as I try and walk around through the smallest of gaps. So I'm hovering behind a very heavily updated Mercedes, actually. It's Lewis Hamilton's car here. He's starting from fifth thanks to that penalty for Charles Leclerc. And Toto Wolff's here just doing a TV interview, I think, with Austrian television, if I'm not mistaken. But anyway, I'm trying to catch his eye for when that finishes, because I want to kind of just hear what the tone is like within Mercedes with this new upgraded car. They're not going to really learn that much about it here on this track, but it looks so different. They've clearly delivered it on time. It's certainly not sent them backwards, has it? They're still, roughly where they were. And Hamilton just seems a bit happier with it, because even with a scruffy day yesterday, he outqualified George Russell. So we'll have to see if I can waffle for long enough to get Toto's thoughts on it. But I'll interrupt you if I need to.
Well, and Chris, that's exactly what I was going to say, is that, there was huge expectations that they have finally decided to abandon the zero side pod, and the car now has side pods, and they look to be pretty much where they were before. It's like, it's kind of amazing that they can do all of that work and still be in exactly the same position where they were.
Yeah, they've clearly not lost anything in that sense. And when it is a big change, there's obviously a risk that it doesn't work the way you want it to. Maybe they'd have wanted a few more games, but this is not really a track that they're going to have been able to hone the setup, to learn about it. What they needed was the car to be drivable. I think that's the most important thing. And maybe the jury's out on that. That's one of the reasons I'd like to speak to Toto. But he's currently speaking to Jim Ratcliffe from Ineos, who is, I believe, the richest man in Britain, certainly up there. Heavy partner, has a stake in the Mercedes team. So
it's not really the time that I'm able to stick a microphone in between them at the moment while they're having a bit of a joke. So I will still try and stay in the
Don't
island,
anger a billionaire,
I know my
Chris.
place at this one.
don't,
Not a British one either. I've got to stay. I've got to stay patriotic, haven't I?
Speaking of the richest men in Britain, Jonathan, what do you think?
This time, the national anthem of Monaco will be played in the presence of our dignitaries.
I had to hear that. The national anthem of Monaco.
Dans quelques instants, l'hymne national de Monaco sera joué en présence de.
Okay, Chris muted his mic. Jonathan, what do you think about the situation at Mercedes? You think we'll start to see some of the after this weekend, after Monaco, start to see some of those upgrades take effect?
Yeah, but listening to the commentators earlier in the weekend, just talking about the fact that Mercedes had to do this upgrade. If you remember, I said last week that I wouldn't bring. Sorry, on wheel to wheel, I said that I didn't think Mercedes needed to bring those upgrades to Monaco because they wouldn't have any much effect. But listening to David Coulthard and Alan McNish on F1 Pro, they were both saying that it was almost a necessity that even though the track wasn't, specific to the upgrades that they were bringing, they had to bring them just to be competitive, and that we'll see better signs of them in Spain. But it kind of shows you where Mercedes are, that they're having to do they're throwing everything in the kitchen sink at that car at the moment.
Yeah. Okay, well, let's get in our last break, and when we come back, we'll be about 10 minutes from the start of the race. You're listening to Speed City F1, back after a quick break. All right, man. Chris,
how long's the break, guys?
2 minutes. You still got Toto or not?
Not right now, but it will still be in the break. But it's also, drivers will come back my way from the anthem, but I'll just maybe jump on straight into it if I do get anyone.
Okay. All right, I'm just looking to see. I got to get our last crowd strike in.
Do you need to do that off the back of the break?
Yeah, but it's just a quick one. It's just a little 10-second. Unless you've got Toto right then, and I can just squeeze it in after Toto. Your call, buddy. Casey says 1 minute. What's happening on YouTube? Let's see what's out there. Paul Bryan has joined us. He's I think his coffee's kicked in. He's starting to talk. The big double used to be Indy and NASCAR on the same down. Now it's Danica and F1 and the Indy grids in one day. Okay, Paul. How's it going, Chris? Got 30 seconds.
Yeah, don't worry. I'm by a fire up, so I can't hear anyone or anything for a sec. So this is okay timing, actually.
Your mic, we can't hear those engines at all. We can't hear them. I think you would literally have to point them right at the car because we can't hear them at all.
All right, I'm going to stay live mic then, but I'll shout if I have something. You'll hear my voice if I have something.
All right, we'll come back and I'll hit the crowd strike, and then we'll. Here we go.
Hi, this is Max Verstappen, and you're listening to Speed City.
Welcome back to the fastest hour in radio, Speed City.
The Speed City F1 pre-race show on SiriusXM is brought to you by CrowdStrike. Stop today's most sophisticated cyber attacks at the office, the racetrack, and everywhere in between. Learn more at crowdstrike.com/XM. Okay, Chris, I know you've been hovering around.
Yeah, great timing for a CrowdStrike ad because I'm the CrowdStrike sponsored team is Mercedes and I'm with their team principal, Toto Wolff. Toto, everyone keeps talking about it. Your car looks so different. Is it handling different? Is it doing what you want yet? Do you know that yet?
Yeah, I hear it's handling different. The drivers are quite happy about the front axle. The rear we need to see in Barcelona.
Yeah, I was going to say, Barcelona, you probably learn a lot more about this car, but have you got happier drivers right now?
Yeah, a little bit happier. The car is still not fantastic, but it's better.
So what can you do today? Because obviously gain a place with the clerk's penalty. Can you gain any more? Or is it all about just trying to bring these points?
Start and then safety cars.
No safety cars. You want to avoid those?
No, I'd like to have some safety cars.
Oh, sorry, misheard you. Well, good luck today. It's too loud down here. I have no idea what anyone ever says. Sorry, everybody, if I
We could
repeated 3 questions to him.
No, that was perfect, mate. Don't worry.
And Jonathan, I mean, Chris, you could tell that it's loud because you could hear Toto screaming, trying to, we could hear him fine, but you could tell that he was screaming over the crowd.
Yeah, this mic is almost too good sometimes, so apologies to all this.
No,
because
the
it
mic's
picks up
actually
the voice
great.
Very nicely. Yeah, but we shout over the top of it, so yeah, it's not always. You might think we're going crazy, but it's so loud down here. That's why my voice is always raised. Right now, it's the tannoys in French giving out the updates. So I'm just having a quick browse around Carlos Sainz's Ferrari, actually, seeing if Fred Leclerc's around. I don't spot him at the moment.
Hey, Chris, I was going to ask you. I was going to ask you about Checo's car, man. I watched another replay just while we're sitting here, and impact was so big. It was a huge impact. I mean, particularly for Monaco, thinking all those slow-speed corners. I mean, I guess the car is, it's Red Bull, so the car is 100% back together and ready to go. But that was such a huge impact.
It is, but yeah, the list of parts they've changed is enormous, absolutely enormous. It's the longest list I've seen in a long time, because you're right, they had to pick so much stuff. It really was a big hit, and I mean, Checo was, I would say, pretty hard on himself, but rightly so, because of how costly the error was. But he couldn't believe what he'd done when he spoke to the media afterwards. He was just he just doesn't know how he made such a big mistake, and says it was all on him. There was no distraction. Christian Horner, didn't he, said to us live on the post-qualifying show that maybe he was distracted by an Alpine, and Checo was like, nope, none of that. It was all on me. So in a sense, fair play for owning up to it, but it was a big error that's made his task so hard today.
Yeah, it's funny because Checo, he had made one other qualifying mistake. I can't remember where, but we've all been saying that that he's the guy that could really push Max, but this is a big setback. And Jonathan, what do you think? I mean, is this?
Oh, it's huge. I mean, coming into Monaco, we said it at Miami. Checo looking great, and if he just backs to back with Monaco, he can be right back in this. But now he's put himself right on the back foot and played straight into Max's hands.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. But then, realistically, if there was going to be one other main challenger to Max this season, it's Fernando Alonso, and he's right there. So it hasn't dampened my excitement for this race, put it that way.
No, I think you're right.
I want to go back because at the beginning of the show we were talking about the start of this race. Chris, you said it once. The person in second has won this race more than the pole sitter since 2015. And Jonathan, you were talking about it, is that Alonso was trying to get inside Max's head, saying, his weakness may be his starts. So I mean, we could let all hope is not lost here for it might not just be a walk away, that it could be a battle right here at the start.
Oh, that there's no question that Alonso's plan A will be to get up that inside line or past Verstappen at the start, because if he can make that happen, then lead dog makes the rules and has the best view, and Monaco, that's what it's all about. So Sandoval into that first corner.
Chris, we actually can hear your mic now. What are we hearing?
That's me getting off the grid with all the mechanics and team members and VIPs and other members of the media, because it is so tight trying to get off there. It's pretty much impossible. So yeah, that's me jumping off to be able to. Sorry, someone's trying to phone me at this moment.
It's your mom. I think that phone call just killed his connection. Oh, okay, Johnny Green.
They interrupted me. Sorry, everybody.
There you go.
That was me saying no. That was me saying no to it. And it still cut me off. That's so frustrating. Anyway, I'm actually going to see if there's one man I can just grab now. Stefano Domenicali, as we walk along the pit lane. What a setting, Stefano, by the way. This place it's so special, Monaco, isn't it?
Yeah, for sure. It's great. It's really impressive, the passion that we are finding everywhere we go. And here, of course, is a touch of magic because of the landscape, because of the situation we're living. But we are very proud to be here.
And this is one that you've taken over a little bit more. From doing the direction, you're kind of a bit more in control of this race, and people have noticed. They say it's going well.
Well, that's the responsibility to try to improve every time. And that's really our aim. We need to make sure that the promoter is happy, to promote the place we are going to be and where we live. And that's really what we want to do, not only here, but everywhere.
And just a word on Imola. Lovely gesture from Formula One to donate €1 million to the flood relief efforts there. Just your thoughts, because it's your home area.
Yeah, it has been. It is a tragedy because now that the max is fading away, the media is going home. We'll have a tragedy that a lot of people has to suffer for many months. So I think that what we did was the minimum. But of course, as you can imagine, also personally, it's quite emotional. So let's hope that all the people that are very strong will react all together.
Lovely words. Thank you very much. Good luck to good luck to that. I say good luck to everybody, but you're just going to enjoy the day, aren't you? But yeah, sorry to have a somber note of that. But yeah, just a reminder to everyone that obviously we weren't on air last weekend when we should have been because there was no Grand Prix in Imola because of the floods there. So Formula One did donate a huge amount, as did Ferrari, €1 million donated to the flood relief efforts.
Yeah, good job, Chris, grabbing the CEO of Formula One there too. And also, by the way, fantastic job painting the picture for us today. Talking about the weather earlier, I literally wrote that down because, talking about the clouds sneaking over. Great job out there today. I know we've just got about 4 or 5 minutes here before the start of the race, but yeah, I talking about Imola last week, I think 99% of the people said that was exactly the right thing to do. I mean, because Formula One has been criticized in the past for some of the decisions like that, and that was the right thing to do. So I'm glad you caught up with him and got to mention that.
Yeah, if you want a weather update, by the way, again, that corner that I was looking at, still looking a little bit overcast over there. If I'm a betting man, I'm saying it's staying dry for this race. But don't fully rule it out. 10-20% chance, I reckon. It's not a guaranteed dry race today.
There we go. All right, guys, we got about 3 minutes. Jonathan, why don't we get your predictions for the race? Let's start with you.
Ooh, I'm gonna go Alonso, Hamilton, Ocon.
Oh, I love that. I do love that. All right, Chris, what about you?
Wow, I'm gonna be boring. Verstappen, Alonso, Sainz.
Okay. All right. I'm going to go Alonso, Verstappen, Ocon. I'm going to try to play it somewhat safe, picking Alonso, and not because I want Alonso over Verstappen anybody, because I don't care who wins. I just want a great race, but I think that would make for a great race because I'm thinking that maybe Mr. Alonso can do this at the start. But
I want Alonso over Verstappen just because I want the variety of winners. And I've publicly said a number of times that Red Bull won't win every race. So the sooner they can do that, the better. I'm just very briefly, because I know we've only got a few minutes left, but Jean Alesi was here just looking over the run to Raskas. I mean, how special was it to race at this venue, John? Just incredible racetrack.
Yeah, and honestly, I raced 13 times on this track, but to see the qualifying yesterday was just amazing. I think the best qualifying ever. I believe the Grand Prix is going to be a picture of what we have seen already yesterday.
Well, very quickly, because we've got to go off air, but what's the top 3 prediction from you then today?
It's very difficult. It's Monaco, I cannot say it's a gamble, but very close. It's very easy to make a mistake, very easy to over-push on the wrong moment. But if the weather, I believe the rain is going to happen middle of the race, so that's going to be even more difficult to have a prediction for the top 3.
So no winner, you're going to guess?
My heart is Ferrari, so I hope a Ferrari driver, even if yesterday Fernando Alonso and Max made a huge and unbelievable job.
Okay, well, we'll look forward to it. Jean, thank you very much. That's a legend of Formula One, and I just had to jump over a fence to get out of the pit lane there to end the show. So sorry if I've run us long, everybody.
Nice job being agile too. Yeah, Jean Alesi, 202 starts in Formula One from 1999 to 2001, and he won the 1995 Canadian Grand Prix. Nice job with that, Chris. All right, guys, we are out of time. We want to thank everybody who joined us on the show in front of Chris's microphone. And thanks for tuning in, everybody. However you did it, we appreciate it. And, of course, stick with us for the race because we have the entire race coverage right here on ESPN Extra, Channel 81. And right after the race, We have our full post-race show with Chris in Monaco with microphone in hand, and we'll bring you all the results after the race. Thank you very much for tuning in. Oh, don't worry about it, Chris. That sounded awesome, dude.
That was brilliant.
Oh, it was a bit hectic. So I don't think I got as many people as last year.